Well, then Jesus continues, and he gives the last comparison, the soil that was good. And Jesus points out the last condition of the soil, and he says, "But other seed fell on good ground and yielded a crop that sprang up. It increased, it produced, some 30-fold, some 60, some 100. But remember, the story that Jesus is pointing to on the hillside has these elements. The soil is the very same soil in all four pictures. It all looks the same. Now, some parts are walked on, but it's the same color, it's the same texture, it's just some of it's been walked on for a long time, and some of it, there's something underneath there, rock, but you can't see it, and some of it has these roots of the thistles and brambles you can't see. But the good soil looked just like the shallow soil and the thorny soil, because it's all the same soil. In all four pictures, it's rich agricultural dirt, and it's the same farmer, it's the same seed, it's the same sun, it's the same rainfall. The only difference is the conditioning that each soil has gotten. And that's where Jesus starts preaching his sermon. Jesus says the path or the wayside area of the field has become hardened and packed down. The rocky area of the field has these submerged rocks that were never removed. The weedy area of the field contains the roots that were never tracked down. The farmer could go through and rake. The farmer could go through and follow these root trails of these thistles, but it was a lot of work. And that never occurred. The rocks were never taken out. And what Jesus is saying is that the soil that's good is good because it's not hardened, it's not shallow, it's not infested with weeds. That's what makes it good. And then Jesus pauses his story at the end of verse 8 when he tells this. And look what it says in verse 9. You know, you don't have a tape recording of this, and so it was so vivid as Mark's capturing this moment that he throws in if you have a red letter edition, he throws in the black words. And then he said. See, Jesus is telling this story and everybody's just following every word. They can just see the guy throwing the seed and they're looking and they can just imagine, because they'd all seen thorny bushes and they'd all seen vibrant crops. And Jesus pauses dramatically. And everybody looks at it, waiting to hear what's next. And he says, verse 9, as Jesus paused, each person who heard him was agreeing mentally with what he said. They all knew from daily life that each farmer faced the same challenges when sowing a crop. They hoped for a harvest. And then the moment of truth comes. Jesus gives his final statement in verse 9, and he said to them, "He who has ears to hear, let him hear." And this is what we call the parabolic lightning, the flash in each person's mind. You see, as Jesus told this story, he was holding their attention. He was showing them something that they all could relate to, and then all of a sudden he sticks in the application. He says, do you see something in that field that you relate to? That you need to respond to, that you need to do something about? And that lightning flashed in their hearts. And they're saying, yes, it's true. Yes, the hard pack can't get the seeds. The shallow soil terminates growth. The thistles choke seedlings. Yes, the good soil always rewards the farmer with a crop. And you know what? That was the whole goal of the story that Christ told. Bingo. They all had tracked with him because he told such a simple story. The only purpose of a farmer sowing is to get plants to come to maturity and harvest. And the truth seekers sitting out there and standing out there that day would ponder, and then they would start wanting to go to him and ask him some questions. Questions like, who's the sower? What's the seed? What does the stony soil mean? What does the thistly soil mean? How can I be good soil? And that's exactly what Jesus wanted. And so the disciples in verse 10 do that. And they come to him.